Yet again, Oasis. So, new artwork, should we start talking about it? Let's start now and work backwards. So new artwork, the concept of the idea of the art. How did that start? You get the occasional phone call from Noel going, the plan.
Hello everybody, thanks for coming along. Yes, 30th anniversary and definitely made with packaging. You sure it does? Yes. How did it all come about? I got an email in January from Ignition, the Oasis Management Company, saying would I be free in 3 days for a Zoom call. I had no idea what it was about, and I just said yes. So then I had the Zoom call, and sure enough, I beamed into Ignition's HQ, and they said, Noel Gallagher has asked if you'd be interested in repackaging Definitely Maybe, do you want to do it? Duh. Took me a nanosecond. I said, yeah, of course I do. So a meeting was arranged with Noel in London in February, and it went something along the lines of the front cover was going to be the cover from back in the day, but without the band in it, which I was a bit unsure of at first, but I think it works in the end. And the credit on the sleeve goes, sleeve concept, design, like it's a Noel and Brian Cannon. It says both of us. Because he came up with the idea of the empty room, and I came up with the idea of taking, well, the shots of the studios. I don't know if you've seen the black and white pictures of the back shots that are out. I've not even got a physical copy of it myself yet. So we actually went down to Monroe Valley and saw Mills, and I live in the lake, so that's quite a trek, and he lives in London, and he came with us as well, which I didn't think we had to do.
So Brian, I'll just shout again. So we're going back to the studios, and there, time you there, roughly down Monroe Valley. Was that the first time you've been back there for like decades?
It's the first time I've been back to, well, I wasn't there, saw Mills with Oasis, but I was with the Verve before that, because the Verve did their first album there. So yeah, it was mad. I tell you what was mad. We were at Monroe Valley, and I couldn't believe how small that room was. I thought, have you done something different? I don't know, this was it. You know, the same room we shot the Supersonic sleeve in. We went back and there was nothing in it, so you think it looked bigger, and it didn't, it looked tiny. So Noel came down, he got the train from London to Newport in South Wales, and he had his driver drive from London and pick him up at the station and said, how rockstar is that, you know? So he came up from Newport to Monroe Valley in his Range Rover, which he owns but he can't drive. And we did a shoot there. Then the following day we drove down to Cornwall and we did a shoot. Now Sawmills is something else because it's tiny. Monroe Valley is kind of a big, posh, professional studio. Sawmills is just like a house that was, well, a mill, obviously. It was converted by some hippies in the 60s, basically. There was no man known as Cannabis Creek for years, because you can't get to it by a road, you've got to send to it on a boat. And it really is just this rickety tiny room that astonishing massive sound was recorded in. So that was phenomenal to photograph those two studios. And then the other aspect of the album packaging, which you probably haven't seen, or might have a snippet of, is all bits of bobs that were related to the record that I photographed again myself in a style that you would expect, like a Sotheby's catalogue and some ancient artifacts. That was kind of the album, and he loved that idea. So we spent a couple of months working on it all, and it was news was broke on the 23rd of May, so yeah, it's come out in August. So it was a fantastic project to work on, Noel was hands-on, and people say, oh, Michael Lee wasn't involved. Well, he never was back then, you know, it was always just me and Noel that did it. So it was just like, it was literally just like this day, you know, like he's still the most unaffected, down-to-earth guy, still the same as he was, so it was fantastic.
Just saying that before, he's the only person in any band I've ever met who actually hasn't changed from before. You know, people say, oh, success changes people, failure changes people as well. I seen him the other day, just like I was when he was 19. Well, what's interesting about this, the way you work together, is all the pop cultural stuff that goes on. Both Noel and you completely versed in pop culture. For day one, those sleeves, they're not just random sleeves, there's so many little clues and details in there. They're perfect for playing with 30, 40 years later. Now, was that part of the deliberate process when you started? You know, like the way Sgt. Pepper's is, it's like, who are all these people in the background? It's, that kind of plays out like that, doesn't it?
It does. There was never any sort of 30-year plan involved, obviously. You know, we just did what we did back then because it was right. But the point was, unlike a lot of designers back in the day who would work to a budget or a time frame. You know, for example, I never put a clock on any of this. I was doing an Oasis record, and say before I would say we had a budget of £2,000. Another design agency would be charging £50 an hour, so they would dedicate 40 hours to it. They work out what they could do in 40 hours. I didn't do that, but fuck that. We keep going until this is finished and it looks ace. And that's how we did it. And every one of them is bespoke, specifically to the record, the wrapping, if you like, you know, the packaging. And they have stood the test of time because I immersed myself so much in that band's culture that nothing ever got rejected or had to be reshot, because I just knew them inside out, you know, through hanging about them so much. You know, I was literally in the studio the whole time, throughout Morning Glory, just doing research. What would that say? Well, tell you know, hanging out with a band, basically. No, but you know what I mean? It's like, the more you know somebody, the less, there's less like, I was never going to suggest something that they weren't going to like, because I knew them inside out.
Yeah, to me, like I was saying, I knew you before, of course, it seemed like the perfect fit. I think all great bands are more than just a band, aren't they? It's the people in the bands, the people who sign the artwork, the people in the gang. Every great band's actually a 20-piece band in a sense, and you were kind of in that sort of space, which is perfect for the artwork. And to this day, so going back to the artwork now, the concept of kind of emptying the room out, was that from there or from you? How's that come together? And why as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at the 1994 version, well, every version of Definitely Neighbourhood now, every single side of every format has a picture of at least one member of the band. So the vinyl version, they're on the front, on the back, they're on the inside of the originals, those little pictures of the band at the boarders house. The reissues together, it's always pictures, and every single panel on every single page of the CD is a picture of the band. On the new version, they're not on anywhere, none of it. And there's two reasons for that. I figured that everybody kind of knows what they look like by now, right? And it was Noel's idea that it was like ghosts of the past, you know. Now, what he meant by that, I don't know. People are going to read into it, let's reunion thing. He didn't mention that one way or the other, but you know, I just think it's, and this is my opinion, not what he said, but my opinion of what all that means is that that's done now, it's gone, you know, that's it. They're the ghosts of the past. That's why the band are not in it, and I think it works.
For now. Everything with a band like that's dot, isn't it? So was the process pretty formed from the beginning, the idea of what it's going to be, or is it just like all the old stuff, it's a process? So it starts with an idea, you know, like the idea, you know, the Beatles picture in the hotel room in Tokyo, and it ends up being the first album, completely different in the end. But the initial concept is one thing, and the journey's over there. And how does that process work? Would that be just, in those days, I guess you would know phoning, these days, probably emailing?
The process has always been the same. You know, I would spend as much time as possible with Noel Gallagher talking about what we need to do. And what I would do is I would formulate in my head what I wanted the end result to be, and then the journey would just be realising that vision. And that's not changed, and it didn't differ too much from what I set out to do, even though it'll be all right this way. Possibly started playing the drums. Yeah. So, it's all about coming up. This notion that it sort of it evolved to. No, it was always in my head, and we worked to realising that. Like I said about that picture that's on the back of that Beatles album, that was where it started, but I knew what I wanted it to look like. It didn't deviate as we're going along, it was just a case of realising where we're going. And that's why, like I said, none of them ever got rejected or had to be redone because they're all discussed from the beginning. I told you what I was going to do, and he got exactly what I said I was going to give him. So,
The other thing I was thinking with your artwork and your style of artwork, which is already in place, because Oasis is definitely not your starting point, you've been working a long time for that. I think it's interesting how the match is perfect. You know, their records is everything on the kitchen sink. There's so many guitar overdubs, so much detail, which is necessary. A lot of great records can be very stripped down, but it works in Oasis. You just said Avalanche. The artwork's similar, isn't it? And it always was when you did verse leads as well. There's a lot of stuff in there, and the way you create art is almost the way Noel creates music. I mean, is that something that you agree with?
Yes, I would. I mean, it's a happy, convenient, coincidental marriage, if you like. I mean, I might have struggled with it with somebody more minimal. My work's always busy, you know, and like I said, Oasis records are busy, you know, from the way they're written to the way they're performed, to the way they're recorded, I guess. So it just worked, didn't it? You know, it's just one of those moments in rock and roll history where everything just clicked, you know. It was an astonishing project to work on, defining my career, if not my life, and continues to do so, and I was just, it'll never happen again. You know, I said never's a long time, but that, because of the internet and the way things are these days, I just find it certainly won't happen in my lifetime, but you'll never see that again. So I was just fortunate to be involved in it.
Yeah, I don't think a band would possibly get that big again. Also bands which actually not control completely by the music business, because the other great thing about Oasis music and the artwork was just all the people doing it. Well, not pretty talented all the people, but you know, it wasn't like some of the others deciding what the sleazy going to be like. They just left you to it. It was like a gang of crazy northerners who actually knew their pop culture, and they actually knew what they do best than whereas would you not be able to do that now?
Creation just pay the bills. I mean, they're cool enough to suss that as well, you know, because I've worked with other record companies, keep poking and rolling. And all they end up with is a decision by committee where it's just a diluted end product, you know. Whereas McGee is cool enough, because he knows what he's talking about. You know, that's why he fucking signed it in the first place, isn't it? You know, he knows what he's talking about. He knew we were all on the ball and seen the work I'd done with the Verve beforehand. So it's just like, let me get on with it. I never once had to run anything by creation, ever. As long as Noel said it was happening, that was it. Unique, I mean, I tell you like, it was kind of the same with the Verve actually, with Ashcroft, and it was Dave Boyd at Hut. There was a similar situation, but those are the only two times when I didn't ever have to refer to the record company. And it was amazing, and nobody, anybody else has ever been the same.
It's actually an example of how good stuff is if you actually just lead people to it, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, that's partially McGee's genius, isn't it? You know, not only that, but it probably, I can imagine, probably encouraging it to go crazier.
He didn't get involved at all, you know. He just literally, I mean, to be honest, when Oasis first got signed, he went off his nut, didn't he? And he was here for 2 years, he was doing rehab. So, that's probably why he didn't have to run anything by him. But no, even when he was like, he never did, and it was like a long balance, you know, it's like, you know, you are the artists, I just facilitate, you know, bringing your art to the public's attention. Fantastic situation, you know.
Yeah, but it's very much through your filter, because, I mean, yeah, they're different now, of course, like, you know, the Rap Assassin's Sleeve, Oasis, they're all different, but they're very much, I can tell your artwork straight away in 2 seconds, so you're brought in for a purpose, aren't they? You bring something to that, you bring a lot to it, don't you? So people, when Noel started working you start working you for definite reasons, don't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of people presume because we had such a great relationship with him that I was friends before him. I got to know Noel, well, I was working in the same building as him, Mount Street, just off of Rochdale Road, just outside there. And he was working with the Spiral Carpet, so I just seen him knocking about the building, and the legend has it, you know, we got chatting and lived about a trainers one day, and that's kind of true, you know, that's what happened. And he asked me what I did, and I said, well, I'm designing records things, well, trying to, I've just done a few early singles for the Verve at that point, or Verve was doing that then, and he'd seen it, like, wow, you did that. Well, I'm getting the band together when we get, not if, when we get signed, I want you to do our artwork. So he got me in, not because I was a mate or I used to take drugs with him or whatever, anyway, he'd seen the work I'd done for Verve, and he obviously thought it would be fitting for his band, and it really was. And that's how it all started. So yeah, it was on previous work that he'd seen, not because we were pals, although we did become great pals.
I mean, in that early days, I mean, it's a friendship as well, which is really important in the story. And it's, so what, I mean, you talk about all the stuff apart from trainers, you talk about rock and roll music, live, the usual things, really binding. Or was it just a slight second thing to talk about our work, the band, and that was it?
I just remember it being, well, we started talking about trainers, obviously, then he realised what I I'd done, and then that was an intro, and then it all happened so fast, you know, and then I saw him play. I mean, the story that I first saw Oasis play at the Hopper Great Bar at Manchester University, and he was supporting Lewis Fair, was it?
No, it was
Dodgy. In 1993, just after they'd been signed, and he had been mindering on to me to watch him play for ages, and I kept not going, because they played in the City just before I knew it, and I didn't go because I liked them. I thought they're bound to be shit. Your mates' bands are always rubbish. I thought they're bound to be shit. And then one of them said to me, and I went along to the Hopper Great Bar, and I missed the first half of the set, and they probably only did about 6 songs anyway. So I walked in, and there was probably about 4 people there. There was me, there was Johnny Marr and Marcus. It was the first time Marcus on played, the manager, and a couple of students behind the bar, and that was it. And I saw him play, and I was like, fuck it now. I couldn't believe it. I mean, literally, even then, to an empty room, you were like a juggernaut coming through the wall. It was mind-blowing. And yeah, I'll do it. I'll work you band though, yeah. So that's how it all started.
What did he like about the stuff he did with the Verve, without the Verve at the time? Was there specific things he liked that he wanted you to bring to Oasis, or was it just the overall kind of vibe that you were doing those things?
I think he got straight away the fact that those record sleeves were specific for that band. What he liked was the fact that I worked with the band, not the record company. And I always did that. You know, I never got commissioned by a record, it was always the bands. And he liked the fact that, just that, you know, I was, the attention to detail, the fact that it was all bespoke, the fact that it was done specifically for that record. There was a lot of thought gone into it, a lot of time and effort gone into it. You know, everything he did himself, I guess. He knew that I was going above and beyond what was actually expected, you know, or what was passable. Because you could get away with doing a lot less, because most people didn't care. I didn't the record company got Sweden about. I didn't get paid any more for doing 10 times the amount of work, you know. And he saw that, and that's what attracted him to us.
At that time, would it be him coming up to your little office in Mouse Street? I remember the office. This is old school, it's before computers. It's like scissors. Yeah, I remember it all lying out all over the floor.
I had a photocopy and an old architect's drawing table thing. No computers. Photocopy was black and white. There was a drawing board, photocopier, and a deck tray from IKEA. That's all I had in that room. And
little knives.
Yeah, scalpel blades and tins of glue. And that was it. That was literally all the equipment I had. And it's not like those computers hadn't been invented. I just couldn't afford them. You know, the Macs were out there. This was midnight of 93, 94. It wasn't until 1996, 1995, when McGee fronted me some money that I actually bought our first Mac. And then, again, the visionary, he fronted us, if you believe this, he gave us 10 grand, which to me that was a fortune. A fortune. He gave me 10 grand in lieu of the work that I was going to do for Oasis in the next year to facilitate us moving to London, setting up a studio and buying some equipment. You know, I bet people shaking their heads, give him 10 grand for work he hasn't even done yet. Could be right, man. And it was, obviously, you know, because even though we have, you know, it's no secret, there's a lot of passion there. The body of work we left behind was just beyond compare. And, you know, you can't rely if you smash it never all the time, so we worked there, right?
I mean, to me, that's a measure of McGee, just McGee trusting people, which is part of his genius, isn't it? I think he's a really important part of the story, not the story.
It's like he brought everybody together. That was his genius, is bringing everybody together, because it's more than just anybody deciding a band per se, but then it's what you do with them, you know, how much you interfere with them, you know, what producers you put in touch with, you know, what artwork guys you get, the whole shebang, you know. I mean, back then it's a far more complex industry than it is now. There's no internet, obviously, so there's radio plugs, you know, the whole, you know, the full 9 yards, and just everybody. It's like Brian Clough, he didn't necessarily have the best players, but he got the best out of it because everybody wanted to do well for him. And it was, you know, that was the situation. Everybody wanted to work so hard on the project because everybody was cool, and it was just a beautiful thing to be involved in, you know.
Yeah, I mean, trusting in the innate talent of people, I think it's risky, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned that about Brian Clough and making the players weren't that great, but they made a great team. Yeah. It's kind of what Oasis are, isn't it? I mean, I spoke to Noel recently, and he was saying, he was never that confident as a lead guitar player. He felt nervous when he had to do guitar solos. You know, I can't like the word nervous and Oasis never seem to sit in the same sentence. Of course, it's all bluff, and everyone's bluffing, especially in the north, and they're all bluffers, aren't they? But he was, but when they played together, you know, look at your lineup, you know, they're not virtuoso musicians, but God, they sound good, don't they?
You know, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people here that saw me tonight or last night, and it's amazing, but you know, it's just not Oasis. And you know, they're probably much technically better musicians in Liam's band, session musicians. But I mean, nobody the first one to admit himself that Oasis weren't the best musicians, but it just worked. It just clicked, didn't it? And that was the whole project. So you know, back to the McGee thing. You know, the people he surrounded himself with. I mean, it was mayhem. That's why he ended up in rehab. When I first started working with the offices in Hackney, and you know, they have the famous bunker parties where they just literally lock the fucking doors and take a bag of ease in the basement. Come out 4 days later. I mean, that's literally what happened. And he still got the job done. But yeah, it was a different time though. You couldn't be like that now. The industry's changed beyond all recognition anyway. You know, lunatics like us operating like that, it just wouldn't fly anymore. You know.
Which is a shame, really, because all the best culture comes from leaving 6 locked in a bunker for 4 days and back in. Somebody's got to do it, it's a tough job. So, I guess another thing that I liked about your art is there's a lot of interesting things I've always liked about stuff you do. It's rooted in punk, I can see the punk thing in it. There's also a psychedelia, but a northern psychedelia. And those early verve sleeves, they've got a mystery to them, like a ghost-like kind of psychedelia, which kind of carries on into Oasis as well, you know. I guess you don't think, I'm going to put those things in there, but they're subconsciously in there, aren't they? Because some of the Oasis music, you know, brilliant anthems, but also quite a great psychedelic band as well. So.
Absolutely. I think my favourite part of Oasis is that sort of 94, 95 crossover, like It's Good to Be Free, Acquiesce, Columbia, that psychedelic entry. And psychedelic is the right word, it's the northern psychedelic. And yeah, a lot of my work does contain elements of that, but none of it's contrived. And I never go into any of it thinking, right, how can I weave this in? It just comes, you know, if there's one question I cannot answer is, where does it all come from? I don't know, you know, I think about it, I listen to the music, I read the lyrics, I hang out with the band, I go away, and it just comes out.
The key word, I think, here with you, Noel, McGee, everyone, it's instinctive, isn't it? It's just like, instead of thinking about it, the first idea, you just go do it. Instead of going, that might not work, or what do other people think? That doesn't come to the equation, does it? You know you're right, and the idea's there first, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, actually, because, and it's still like this to this day, I know when I've done a piece, I'm my own biggest critic, you know. I think if you're good at something, you first and foremost you have to be, because if you go around thinking everything you've done is great, because everything you've done isn't going to be great. You know, you've got to be able to critique yourself, and conversely, I know if something's good. For example, I did the Lavins album sleeve, and they asked me to do it, and I was going to be like the alternative version of the these days. And I did this thing, the picture, which is Lee, which was his young man on the cover on top of Shap. And it's just one of those rare pieces. I thought, that is fucking brilliant, I love it. And if they don't like it, they're wrong, you know. And it doesn't often happen, but occasionally when I do a piece of work and I know it's right, I couldn't care less what anybody else thinks, because I know it's good. And that was one of them. And all those Oasis things, pretty much, I felt the same way about, you know, I didn't need to go by the record company. If the record company said I'm not going to use it, they are wrong. I know you can't say that because it's opinions, but, you know, if you're so passionate about it, I think you just get that on occasionally.
Well, I guess there is no actual wrong or right.
No, it's not, but, you know, there is no wrong about it because it is opinions. But if you ask me to do a piece of work, that's it, you know. I would never do. And if there's any budding graphic designers, do not listen to your tutors. Never go for a meeting presenting 6 ideas at once, because I guarantee you the client will pick the one that you don't like. Right? And I never did that, you know. And I always worked there. I'd go in with one idea, and if no one didn't like it, or Rich didn't like it, or whoever didn't like it, I'd say, right, well, what don't you like about that? And we'll fix that bit, rather than going in 6 different bits. You know what I mean? What's all that about, you know? So I would always be focused on one vision, and we can tweak that as need be. You've got me in to do something. If you don't like what I'm doing, get somebody else into it. That's what I think it should be. You know.
Yes, well, I was working with Richard and with pretty well grounded. This is where you felt your style, I think.
Yeah.
There's stuff there before, and you see where it's leading up to that point. But it really flowers when you're working with your hometown buddies, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love this idea, it all comes out of Wigan.
Yeah. Well, that's another one as well. You know, I wasn't, even though we're all from Wigan, I wasn't mates with him beforehand. You know, I met Richard by chance at a party because he went to sixth form with an ex-girlfriend of mine. And that was a very similar relationship. You know, built exactly the same way by hanging out with them, seeing what they did like and what they didn't like. And again, no record company interference. And again, it was pretty much just with Richard, just like with the Oasis, it was just with no. They just trusted me a little bit. Oh yeah, you know, surely that should be the way. Because why do you ask me to do it if you don't think I can do it, or you know, point me wrong all the time? So no, it was, again, I hated both bands. It was unusual, but it was just so beautiful all the time.
You say there well, you worked on obviously work with Sway, you did great work with Sway as well. But do you think those two bands, with the way they're the core, the key, the best relationships you have with bands, and maybe your best work because of that relationships?
The other notable mention is the Super Fairies. I love working with them, they were just great. And they were unusual insofar as it was the exact opposite. I dealt with all five of them.
Wow, how's that work?
Exactly. They're the only band I've ever come across where it really was a genuine, complete, true democracy. All five of them had to agree on everything. I don't think that anything done is beyond them. But you know, I would literally, because I did more video work than sleeves. But yeah, it's fair to say, the best work I did was for bands I liked, basically. You know, I thought it was, I mean, I wasn't a massive Sway fan, and with Sway, all I was doing was really just being a technician for Brett. There were his ideas, and I was just realising, you know what I mean, you could have gotten anybody in to do that, really. It wasn't my vision as such. But yeah, Super Furries, Oasis, and the Verve was the pinnacle of my career in terms of working relationship, and I think it shows in the work.
So in a way, the best is a mix between someone like Noel, someone like Richard. You've got a vague idea what they want for the artwork. You listen to the record and the little pictures that come in, because all the greatest music you listen to makes pictures in your head, psychedelic again. And it's somewhere in the middle of all that, the vision of what it's going to be and what it is.
That's basically it, yeah. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with that technique, what was your favourite sleeve that you did?
The favourite sleeve that I've ever done, Verve's first album, Stormy Night, on the vinyl version. If you get the grateful version of that, and that's up there with anything done by anybody, I was supposed to say. But when you bear in mind the fact we had zero budget to do that, and I sweat blood doing that, and it took me months. And it's basically 4 world-class albums on one album. So that's that. In terms of Oasis, definitely maybe, you know, I'm super proud of that piece of work. Some might say, I'd have to say some might say, you know, my mum and dad are on it. How the process worked, Noel gave me a handwritten sheet of lyrics and said, you know, what's all the lyrics and the song illustrated in one picture. No pressure there then. Yeah, and just the way it turned out, I love the record, the fact it was Oasis' first number one. That period of Oasis is my favourite, you know, that 94, 95 crossover. So yeah, I'd have to say, some might say. I mean, there's loads of bits that people have never even seen that one as well, or stuff that never even released yet. You know what I mean? But if you talk about actual record sleeves that are out there, my favourite, as you go with Verve's first album, definitely maybe, and some might say.
Stuff that's not released yet. What's going on there? That sounds like an all interesting book.
There is stuff that nobody's seen yet that they will see that I can't talk about just yet. But yeah, you know, and I'm not just talking about Oasis. We've got all sorts of the book at the minute. All sorts of the book. So very exciting times.
So I guess really definitely maybe it's the most iconic sleeve. I mean, there's one you see everywhere. It's one that sort of plays around with. I remember that thing in the museum a couple of years ago where you can actually sit in the sleeve, which I thought was the coolest idea. It's the one that's because it's what defines you really, isn't it? Of that kind of Oasis really. It's a great piece of artwork and everything. And everyone kind of knows the story, don't they? When he goes to the house and all. Is there anything that people miss in that story? You know, is there any bits, any little nuggets that you I don't know?
What about the different names?
Yeah, well,
I think everybody's heard the term, you know, it's not red wine, it's Ribena. You know, and Noel tells it like, it's because we couldn't afford any red wine. That's not true. Red wine photographs black. That's why they put Ribena, because it looks like red wine. Couldn't afford red wine. There was like 100 cans of lager in the house. We kept having to take them out for a shot on it. The house was full of red stripe. No, I think, you know, everybody's heard all the stories about it. It was a pretty straight, somebody asked me the other day, what was the memories of the night? It was a pretty straightforward day, because you've got to bear in mind, they'd never had a record that they had singles out, but, you know, it's not like, right, we're going to shoot the new Oasis album sleeve. We're going around Bolognese, I'm taking some pictures. You know, that's not to play it down, because it was a very serious gig like that, but it was a very uneventful day, because we knew what we were doing, we knew exactly where everyone was going to be, we knew exactly what the shot was going to be. It didn't take long. We just sat about taking some pictures, and it was done in a couple of hours, and that was it. And it looked exactly as every imagined it to be. The handwriting, that too, where that came from, the fact that the title was handwritten, because I'd listened to the record, obviously, before it came out, and everyone was going on about this Beatles thing. I didn't get that at all. I thought it sounded more like Never Mind the Bollocks. So my idea to know was, rather than it having a typed set, definitely maybe, I thought, well, handwriting is more punk rock. As it goes, I happen to have pretty neat handwriting, and no one was surprised. He was talking about actually this year when that, you know, punk rock, it looks like a font, it's so neat. And people still say, well, what is that font? No, it's my handwriting. But that was supposed to be my nod to punk rock, but it ended up looking like a font. I'm too neat for punk rock. That's what's going on with my headstone.
It's interesting, I mean, everyone knows all the stories, the madness and the chaos and that, but the interesting thing about Oasis is they work really hard, professional. And that session, I imagine, was a little bit just good laughing, I imagine, but everybody did what they were told, and everyone did the thing.
That's the biggest myth going, that everybody was hammered all the time. It would be impossible, absolutely impossible, to put 3 albums out in 3 years, effectively. 94 to 97, we did, obviously, definitely Every Morning, Going Being Out. And all the singles off of it, and all the videos, and the artwork, and told the world repeatedly, and do all the press and promo that was in it, and become effectively the biggest band outside of America, right, in the world. You could not do that if you were smashed all the time. And they worked remarkably hard. And when they were working, they were working. When they were partying, they were partying. So they win, you know, and that's what it looked like in the 90s. And everybody was mega organised. You know, they weren't one of these bands that wrote in the studio. You know, when we were at Rockfield recording Morning Glory, Noel effectively played with Be Here Now and acoustic guitar. That's how ahead of it was. You know. So when they got to the studio, it's not like, you know, some Pink Floyd session, you know, you're off for days trying to nail down one particular part. It's all done just to get quick because they knew what they were doing. And it was the same with the artwork. We knew exactly what we were doing. And then we were mega hard, and when it was finished, then we went to the party. But you know, you look at the body work that Micronon produced and they produced, all that, you know, you couldn't do that if you were caked all the time. You know.
And fast as well, the process.
Yeah, because everybody knew what they were doing.
I mean, I was hearing Noel talk about this the other day about when he played the lead the demo or the track, Lee would get the vocal, give the sheet lyrics, really get it virgin one take. I mean, everyone's working vocalists, it takes days. It's not easy, it's hard being a vocalist, but it's just like that. Somebody else's words and get them down.
Well, that's when we were doing Morning Glory. I mean, Lee would have his takes done in 1 or 2 takes, and then me and him were composing one for the rest of the day. I became his drinking partner. That's my role during that couple of weeks, because he had nothing else to do, because he'd done it literally bang, fast like that. Are we going to do something?
Sorry. Yes. Has anybody in the audience got any questions?
We'll take some questions from the floor. Yes, sir.
Might won't reach everybody.
Hi. Right. Thanks for the interview. Just picking up on your comment that the sleeves are really complex, brought to mind the barcode poster. I wanted to went through that, because that's obviously ultra simplistic.
The first barcode poster was, for all those who don't know what that is, it's a big green poster that was put out in '97 to announce the fact that they were getting back together again, having split up for a while. And it doesn't announce a record or a gig, it's just, you know, just announces the fact that they're getting back together again. Because all it says is the verb is the barcode. And if you look closely in the barcode, there's a time that, you know, the numbers. It's actually the release date of, what was the first this week's? But the idea was the verb are back on sale again. That was the concept. It's just the verb and the barcode. You can buy the verb again. That was the idea. So it's not specifically, although it does subliminally hint at a record release. Because there hadn't been anything out for a while, and we didn't know what, we hadn't done the artwork for the new single, so I just thought it was an interesting idea to do a back campaign. So that's what that was.
It's like you rebelling against your own arse.
John, by the way, was the first journalist to ever write about micro, way before Oasis on the road. John wrote about, well, micro, it was only ever me anyway, in 1990 in ID magazine. So there you go. Props to John. Yeah. Anybody else?
Question, you have to shout.
Young gentleman there. What?
What's your favourite song?
What? Ever?
In Oasis.
Oasis.
I will both of them on your favourite song ever. Oasis. I know it's impossible to do
No,
that.
okay. My favourite Oasis song is It's Good to Be Free. Right? And if I actually pick my favourite song ever, I know like John says, you can't say whatever, but if I was a dance player, I'd like to walk on tune. Because I thought about this. It would be Pretty Baker by the Sex Pistols. Can you imagine a dance player walking on to Pretty Baker? You'd want him to win, wouldn't you? Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Did you ever go in the Superior Animals tank?
Yes.
Did you go in?
I did, yes.
Did you drive it?
Never drove it. What was that fair? Phoenix Festival.
Phoenix Festival,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, I was in there. Was there anybody else? Yes, madam.
Hi. Could you talk a little bit more about the process of working with Michael Spencer Jones and how you collaborated on the album covers?
Yeah, you know, I came up with the ideas and I briefed Michael and he took the pictures. You know, I met with Noel. I would always have the creative meetings with Noel. I'd come up with the ideas, formulate the vision in my head. And it wasn't just Michael I worked with, I worked with many different photographers back then. On the Oasis projects as well, he didn't exclusively work on all the Oasis jobs. So there's many different photographers, and it was the same process, because back then, the reason why I commissioned photographers, not just Michael, but other photographers, was because, back then, because it was all shot on film, I studied graphic design, so I wasn't confident enough on a big expensive shoot to make sure I get exposure right. Even like I do nowadays, I do all my own photography, it's all digital, as soon as you took it, you can see what you've got. But it was like a technician, if you like, so that would be it. I come up with the ideas, brief him what I wanted, and we would work together on the shoot. Yes, sir.
Is it true, the Wonderwall partway, was it originally supposed to be Liam on it?
Yeah, well, we did actually shoot. There is outtakes floating about of Liam in the same location, on Primrose Hill, with Liam in the frame. And remarkably, and I mean remarkably, Noel Gallagher had to be going past in a taxi. This is a true story, this is not a rock and roll myth, this actually happened. And he was going past in a taxi and I heard this, well, somebody shouted this almighty kerfuffle, I don't know what's going on there. Alright, Noel, what are you doing? I had sent the concept to Ignition to run by Noel via fax. How 90s is this? And the fax machine at Ignition had run out of paper, so they never got the message. So we just didn't hear nothing back from it, so we said, go, let's go on with it. And he said, well, it has to be a girl. So we had to reshoot it, but we went to Ignition and got Anita Harriet, who worked at Ignition. She's the girl who covered the we did some test shots with her in the pub at the bottom of the road in, forget the name of it, in Primrose Hill. But yeah, she got the job and that was it. But it was going to be Liam, and if you think about it, I take Noel's point, it's a love song, isn't it? So, he really wrote it about me, girl, whatever that might be, and he didn't want Liam. Fair enough. Yeah, sure, Nita looks amazing. She's just right for it, yeah. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Is there any band that you wish you'd worked with or an album cover that you thought actually done much better?
Well, there's loads of things better than but you know what, I would never wanted to work with a band that I thought had got one out of in the first place. So the bands at the time, I was into Primal Scream, I thought their art was good. Arctic Monkeys, I never worked with them, and I would have liked to do. I mean, they're not finished yet, so who knows? But I pretty much, you know, look at if you look at all this bit, they kind of ticked them all off, really.
Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah, and I always mention it in every interview. Yes, they hear it. Anyway, yes, sir.
Hi, Brian. It's James from the Oasis podcast here, mate. Hope you're well.
Thank you.
I've interviewed you a couple of times. I've never asked you this question, actually. Berwick Street is the Morning Glory cover, and just down the road is Knoll Street.
Yeah.
Is that deliberate, or was that
Pure
coincidence?
coincidence. I literally, we didn't realise that until we did it as well. I was there the other day, actually. It's cross street, isn't it? It was a cross street. It's two back on total chance.
Yeah.
Total coincidence. Spooky. He gets everywhere, doesn't he? Yes, sir.
Hey, of the post-Micro.Oasis album and single covers, any stood out to you as being your favourites? What did you think of the artwork?
Well, you know, I don't want to slag anybody off, but I won't slag anybody off, but it's not as good as the sleeves that we did. I think everybody's agreeing on that, you know, lots of anything. The only one I kind of like is the one with a bunch of keys on it. Is that the Let There Be Love?
Yeah, Let There Be Love, yeah.
Yeah, other than that, I'm not a fan of it. You know, that's not so great, I'm just not a fan of it. I just don't think it does justice to it. I don't think it's good enough, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I was just curious what your thoughts were, because you had such an iconic style and it was such a shift looking at Standing on the Shoulder of Giants onwards. So thanks for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a bizarre time, wasn't it? Because it wasn't just me, it was like everything changed. Owen didn't produce the records anymore, half the band left, Bonehead and Wigs. This all happened at the same time as well. I left, or I wasn't commissioned anymore. Owen, Bonehead, Wigs, no one didn't even write all the songs anymore. You know, that's how big the seismic shift it was. So,
Thank you.
anything else?
Do you think Oasis will ever get back together?
I have no idea. I genuinely don't know. Nobody knows.
Well, there's one person that's the answer.
Well, yes, but even he doesn't know. So, I don't know. I don't think it's likely at the minute, but nothing would surprise me, ever, with that. If I was to be told that they're never going to get back together, I wouldn't be surprised. Or if somebody said it's going to happen next month, I wouldn't be surprised, actually. I just don't know. I don't think it's likely at the minute, but, you know, never's a long time in it, so who knows. Right then, thank you for coming to see us then.